Usually when you decide to learn something new, say building a piece of IKEA furniture, there is this comforting expectation of order.
Oh, absolutely. You expect a system.
Right. You lay out all the little wooden pegs, you open the instruction manual, and it gives you a rigid step-by-step formula. Insert peg A into slot B, and suddenly you have a bookshelf.
At least if you're lucky, you do.
Yeah, exactly. But then, you decide to learn English. And you step into the world of grammar, and the moment you hit the present perfect tense, that IKEA instruction manual just spontaneously combusts in your hands.
It really does. It's notoriously the ultimate grammatical gray area.
It is. You're left holding a concept that isn't quite the past, and it isn't quite the present, and all those comforting rules just seem to fall apart. And that is exactly what we are unpacking in today's deep dive for you, the learner. We are talking about how to navigate a tense that basically breaks all the traditional rules of time.
Yeah. And people learning English intuitively try to map the present perfect onto their native language.
Yeah.
And, well, the translation often just shatters. It doesn't work.
Not at all.
So our goal today, using a masterclass transcript from the team at English Decoded, is to extract the practical uses of this tense. We're going to look at the underlying psychology of how this specific language structure actively connects our past to our present.
And we want to do this by moving completely away from rote memorization, because while a lot of learners understand the textbook rules, they still, they freeze up in actual conversation. So, okay, let's unpack this, because the core philosophy of this masterclass module actually begins with a stark warning before they even introduce a single rule.
Right. They explicitly tell the listener not to memorize grammar formulas.
Which is wild for a grammar class.
It is, but they argue that true fluency requires learning naturally. Step by step, through context, short stories, and real conversations.
Reading that part of the source material felt a bit like someone telling me to learn how to ride a bicycle by reading physics equations.
That is a great way to put it.
I mean, if you read a textbook about velocity and angular momentum, you still aren't going to know how to ride a bike. You have to get on the seat, push the pedals, and actually feel the balance. Memorizing a formula like subject plus have plus past participle, it's the linguistic equivalent of that physics equation.
It doesn't help you balance in a live conversation at all.
Exactly.
And what's fascinating here is the cognitive roadblock. A formulaic approach creates under pressure. When we look at why learners freeze up or, mix up tenses mid-sentence, it's almost always because they're attempting to solve an algebra problem in real time.
Yes, you can literally see the panic in their eyes.
Right. They are frantically searching their mental spreadsheet for the right structure rather than focusing on the actual meaning of the moment they're trying to share. Language, at its core, is a vehicle for storytelling and human connection.
Yeah.
And when you treat it like a math equation, you strip the humanity out of the interaction. The brain's natural communication pathways just become bottlenecked by the analytical cortex.
That bottleneck is so real. Like I said, you see someone calculating the past participle of an irregular verb while just trying to tell you about their weekend. It's painful.
So painful.
So the masterclass replaces the algebra with natural patterns. And they start with how we talk about our life experiences. The transcript provides this really simple conversational exchange. One person asks, "Have you ever visited another country?"
And the other replies, "Yes, I visited several countries during my life."
Right, and they follow that up with, "I've watched many English movies." The source contrasts this directly with a sentence using the simple past, which is, "I watched an English movie last Saturday."
And the distinction there hinges entirely on specificity. The simple past happens at a locked-in, verifiable point in time. Last Saturday.
Right, there's a timestamp.
Exactly. But the present perfect deliberately obscures the exact date. It mentions no specific time frame at all. It focuses instead on the accumulation of life experience.
But I actually have to push back on this for a second because my analytical brain still wants to find a loophole here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Are you telling me that if I take the exact same action watching a movie and I simply drop the words last Saturday, the sentence magically time travels from the simple past into the present perfect?
Well, no, it doesn't time travel.
Yeah.
It completely shifts the speaker's intent. You go from reporting a historical fact to defining your current identity.
Okay, wait, current identity. That sounds deep. To make sense of that shift, I actually started visualizing this as a passport versus a boarding pass.
So I like that.
Yeah, using the present perfect for life experience is like looking at a passport full of stamps. It doesn't matter when you went to Japan or Italy or what day it was. It just matters that you hold those stamps right now as part of who you are.
Right. You are a person who has traveled.
Exactly. And the simple past, on the other hand, is like looking at a specific boarding pass for Flight 402, departing last Saturday at 8 a.m.
That is a perfect analogy. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the human brain constantly categorizes information into either, historical events or current attributes. English developed this grammatical distinction to force a speaker to declare which one they mean. The present perfect focuses on the fact that you currently hold the experience. As you said, you are a person who has visited another country. The historical moment that the experience was acquired is no longer the point.
Right, the boarding pass is just reporting an event that is over and done. You throw it away after the flight. But the passport is reporting on you right now. It's your current status.
Exactly. You keep the passport.
Okay, so the passport stamps handle those disconnected, isolated events perfectly. But language has to account for things that don't just happen once and stop.
Right. Situations that keep going.
Yeah. I mean, if you moved to a new city 5 years ago and you are still living there, a single passport stamp doesn't really capture that ongoing reality.
No, it doesn't.
And that friction is exactly what the masterclass addresses next. How does the grammar handle an action that started in the past but never ended?
And this is where we see the concept of duration. The source material defines it as an action that began in the past and continues into the present, meaning the statement is still entirely true today.
They give some great examples for this.
Yeah, they provide two specific examples to break down the mechanics. The first is, I've lived in this city for 5 years, and the second is, I've studied English since 2022.
Okay, so for and since.
Exactly. Those are the critical anchor words here. Since establishes the starting point, while for measures the length of time.
Let's visualize how those two words function together, because I think a mental image really helps here. Imagine an actual bridge stretching over a river.
Okay, a bridge.
The word since is the concrete pillar on the far side of the water. It is the solid, immovable starting point in the past. The year 2022. It is bolted into the ground.
Right, it's a fixed point.
Yes. And the word for is the actual roadway spanning across the water. It's the measurement of the bridge itself, 5 years of road leading directly to where you are standing today.
That's a great visualization. And this specific grammatical bridge is actually where native speakers of other languages frequently stumble.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, many languages express this ongoing state simply by using the present tense. So they would translate it literally as, I live in this city since 5 years.
Ah, right. I hear that all the time.
Because it makes logical sense in their native language. But English requires this temporal distortion, basically a tense that spans across time. Without the present perfect, the implication is that the bridge is broken.
Wait, broken how?
If a speaker uses the simple past and says, I lived in this city for 5 years, they're signaling to the listener that they no longer live there. The bridge doesn't reach the present.
Oh, wow. Yeah. They packed their bags and left.
Exactly. The present perfect is the mechanism that maintains the connection to the present reality. It keeps the bridge intact.
Okay, so we have the passport stamps for general experiences, and we have the bridge for ongoing situations. But there is a massive gray area between those two concepts.
It always is.
Right. What happens when the action actually did stop, but the consequence of it hasn't? Like, the bridge ended, but the effect is still right here in the room with us. The masterclass refers to this third pillar as recent results.
And it is perhaps the most practical, everyday use of the tense, yet it's often the hardest to grasp because the action itself is entirely finished.
It feels like it should just be simple past.
It really does.
True.
But the source breaks this down by explaining that the present perfect is used when the result of an action is what matters right now. They use the example, I've just finished my homework.
Right, and the point there isn't the historical timeline of doing the homework. The point is that the homework is currently sitting on the desk, complete and ready to be turned in.
Exactly. It's about the state of the homework now.
They also share a conversational exchange to highlight this, which I loved. Someone asks, have you eaten yet? And the response is, not yet, but I've already prepared dinner.
Now, look at the mechanics of why that exchange demands the present perfect instead of the simple past. Saying, I prepared dinner just drops a piece of historical data into the room. It's just a random fact about the past.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think of this dynamic like a row of dominoes. The action falling in the past, the act of preparing the dinner, is only relevant to mention because it is actively knocking over a domino right in front of us in the present moment.
Right, it's causing a chain reaction.
Yes, I prepared dinner in the past so that we can eat right now. The past action creates a direct, immediate physical result on our current reality.
And it carries an incredible amount of social and practical weight. When you deploy the present perfect in this manner, you are actively dictating the next immediate action in the real world.
How so? Like giving commands.
In a way, yeah. I've already prepared dinner implies a subsequent action. It means, therefore you don't need to cook, or therefore please set the table. It is an implicit call to action, deeply rooted in how humans communicate for survival and cooperation.
I love that. It is entirely about cooperation and immediate relevance. I mean, if I tell you I lost my keys, it's just a sad story about yesterday. Maybe I found them later, maybe I didn't.
Right. Cool story. Moving on.
Exactly. But if I am standing in front of my locked front door and I turn to you and say, I have lost my keys, the result matters immediately. We are locked out. Help me look for them. The domino has fallen.
Notice the underlying theme here, connecting the passport stamps, the bridge, and the falling domino.
It's all about right now.
Exactly. The present perfect is relentlessly obsessed with the present moment. It uses the past strictly as a tool to manipulate, define, or explain the current situation.
Which brings us perfectly back to the source material's initial warning against formulas. To prove that understanding these conceptual patterns works better than memorizing algebra, the English Decoded Masterclass weaves all of these uses into a single narrative.
They call it a demonstration of the power of consistency.
Yeah, and they tell the story of a student named Alex. They map out his timeline, noting that he started learning English 2 years ago. Then, they say he has studied every week since then, which is duration, our bridge.
Right.
Recently, he has finished his first English novel. There's the recent result, The Falling Domino. And over the course of his journey, he has watched dozens of English videos.
Which is the life experience, the passport stamps.
Yes. By structuring the story that way, they completely bypass the brain's grammatical defense mechanisms.
They do. They don't announce a formal lesson, but within a few sentences, they force the listener to intuitively process a specific past event, an ongoing duration, a recent result, and an accumulated life experience.
And the ultimate resolution of Alex's story is that through this practice, he has become much more confident. The explicit takeaway provided by the host is that small progress every day creates big results. But as a reader, the brilliant part is how subtly the tenses shift. You digest a master-level grammar structure without even realizing it. It's a grammatical Trojan horse.
It really is. And this raises an important question about how our brains actually acquire complex knowledge. Humans are fundamentally wired for narratives, not spreadsheets.
We really are. We remember stories so much better.
Absolutely. Alex's story isn't just a clever exercise. It is a blueprint for mastering any difficult topic. When a learner relies on formulas, they suffer from cognitive overload because they're trying to process abstract rules outside of any meaningful context.
The brain just short circuits.
Right. But small, consistent exposure to language within a narrative builds a foundational intuition. You learn to recognize the shape of the grammar based on what the story needs to accomplish in that moment.
It brings us right back to the basic analogy from the beginning. Alex didn't become confident by staring at a chart of irregular verbs. He became confident by getting on the bike and feeling the balance day after day. So, what does this all mean for you, the learner? It means you have permission to step away from the dread of the instruction manual. When you find yourself in a conversation, you don't need to do mental algebra. You just need to ask yourself what you actually trying to communicate.
Are you sharing a stamp in your passport?
Are you standing on a bridge, connecting the past to today?
Or did a domino just fall, requiring immediate action?
If it's one of those three scenarios, you use the present perfect. Once you see those underlying patterns, the tense transforms from a confusing obstacle into a highly specific tool for expressing exactly where you stand in the present moment.
It completely reframes language acquisition. It stops being a test you have to pass and becomes an intuitive extension of how you perceive and interact with reality.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, spending all this time analyzing how language allows us to bend time has got me thinking about something that goes just a little bit beyond our masterclass text today.
No, I like where this is going.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Well, we've established that the present perfect is this incredible linguistic bridge that allows our past actions to directly touch our present reality. It is a tense entirely built around the concept of now. But if language is just a reflection of how human beings perceive time, how does that framework explain the future perfect?
Ah, the future perfect.
Yeah, think about the phrase, I will have finished. Consider what that tense forces your brain to do. You have to mentally project your consciousness into an arbitrary point in the future, turn around, and look backward at an action that hasn't even happened yet, treating it as if it's already in the past.
That is wild to think about. It requires a level of abstract, multidimensional thinking that forces the speaker to essentially generate a memory of a future event.
A memory of a future event. And here we were thinking the present perfect was the complicated one.
It never ends.
It really doesn't. It just goes to show the moment you think you finally figured out the instruction manual, language reminds you that you aren't building a simple piece of IKEA furniture at all. You're trying to ride a bicycle through time. Keep feeling the balance, keep making that small progress every day, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.